Hey. What's going on? What's going on?
What's
Sekou,
up?
what's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Doing good over here. How about yourself?
Man, I'm good as well, man. Safe from the hurricane, man. We had a like a little scare there, man. I know a lot of individuals, families, homes, towns and stuff got impacted. That's also too where our friend Adrian and stuff is. Adrian is helping some of his family and friends that got impacted by the hurricane, man. So definitely, man, want to give our love and shout out to Adrian. Man, hope you're doing well. And stuff, man. And also, man, I'm just excited for you to be able to, help out people in a time of need. So, man, but Sekou, man, how's your week?
Oh man, that's been crazy. It's crazy. It's a crazy weekend tech, crazy weekend in work. You know, um, I have a job that always keeps me busy. I'm a engineer over at Pinterest, cloud engineer, and we're always trying to. We're getting toward the end of the year, holiday season. It's a big time for folks. So.
Yeah. So I know they're kind of working you stuff over there as well. So I know you're doing your due diligence, doing your justice, taking everything day by day and everything, maximum output, man. And so yeah, it's gonna be an exciting end of the year. So we say. Um, but yeah, man. My week's been good. I've been building and I had a couple workshops and everything coming up. Stuff. I got a workshop actually tomorrow and Friday with Microsoft, and so our friends over there with Microsoft, and so I'll be teaching some AI implementations on top of Azure, and so yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be fun. And so, man, and then just just been working, building, and finally, we got some things stuff, man. We've been waiting for, and I am
Mhm.
excited and also nervous because the engineer in me may just dish all responsibilities and just build some stuff.
It's already happening over here. That's consuming my nights. The games we are playing with ChatGPT voice mode these days. So
man. I mean, we last week we did the ending segment with the advanced voice mode, and we had an end out. Well, it has the exit with a Jamaican patois accent.
oh
Um, and
what
so
why is that that everyone's first thing they do if they make it speak with a Jamaican accent? I did the same exact thing.
because
Same
it's a challenging accent. It's challenging to do it properly. It's challenging to understand it. Also too when it's been done properly. As well. And so it's kind of like it's one of those things. It's like let's try it out, and they're pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think me and my brother, when this thing came out, we took it maybe just one step further because we had a Jamaican patois accent,
Mm-hmm.
but then we wanted it to talk like a pirate at the same time. That was a request
Mm-hmm.
by my nephew there. So
We're you know what this is gonna be a new thing. We're gonna come up with a new accent, whatever it may be, to do us a closeout of the episode, and just we're gonna have advanced voice mode close us out, and see how it does, and so that'll be interesting.
right on, right on.
Cool. All right, man. Well, let's dive into it, man. OpenAI has had some interesting news and everything. Interesting week. Just yesterday, OpenAI announced their big 2024 Dev Day. I think one of the interesting things, and so if you remember last year, it was a big marketing push. And they did pretty much like their Dev Day live on YouTube. But this year, something quite different. It was private. It was private and everything. It was an invite only. And even right now, they're saying that to get access to it, you kind of got to have kind of request access to it and stuff if you want to see it. But they did give us the news and stuff what they were talking about. So one of the most exciting announcements was the launch and for the public beta of their real-time API, the tool that allows software engineers to build apps that provides almost instant voice responses generated by artificial intelligence. It's not quite as same as ChatGPT voice mode, but it is getting there. During a press briefing, OpenAI's Chief Product Officer Kevin Will reassured us that the recent departures of figures won't slow them down. OpenAI has focused on providing that they will still have the best platform for AI development, despite the increasing competition with companies like Meta and Google. One of the core features in real-time features of real-time API is the ability to create voice-to-voice conversations, offering developers 6 voices to work with, which they can use creating almost real-time speech-based applications. This tool even be based in to be built applications like trip planners that can respond voice commands, or apps that can talk to customers on the phone by integrating with their services. In addition to this, OpenAI also just rolled out some new tools like image fine tuning with EP4, which help developers to build apps that are visual data. Despite the buzz, there are no new announcements to the GPT store updates and stuff to their video general marshal Sora, but developers also are waiting. They said they felt like they were waiting a little bit too long, so for those applications anyway. Sekou, man, what's your thought? This is a real time API access and everything for individuals like yourself and I. What's your thoughts on this?
Oh, I think they're bringing essentially advanced mode to the platform, so we can build apps the same way that OpenAI has done it on their front end. There's a lot of it's funny. This is like one of the first use cases we really talked about with using OpenAI, even before it had this, even before actually it had voice. I think we were talking about how we can integrate this.
Yeah.
And I think it's a pretty big leap. It's a pretty big leap. And I feel like the cost on it is actually pretty compelling to start with. I can just imagine it's actually at a point, one, you can tinker with it without burning your pockets.
Mm-hmm.
You can build it for scale for a customer as an integration without it being the main show in the offering you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. So I see a lot of potential. I'm waiting to see what comes out of it. I'm waiting to see what I can do tinkering with it. So yeah, I think there's another thing that actually popped up on this DevDay. Is also they're doing prompt caching now. They have that. They brought that into the fold here, which I think Anthropic kind of got to that first, so they're kind of playing a little bit of catch up there.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate it, but
real quick, tell me the importance of prompt caching and what it is.
Yeah. So the idea behind prompt caching is whenever there's a prompt that has been seen before, you can actually reuse the output that you got from that to make your output consistent, and also save you cost on the actual request. Now, OpenAI claims that you would save, a developer would save about 50% by using prompt caching, whereas Anthropic can go up to I think Anthropic says 90% is what they're saying. That's that their cache hit rate would allow you to save money on.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit catch up to do, but the other things I think are really outshining the real time thing. I think for me is the star of the show.
Yeah, definitely. I think the caching thing is interesting. One thing they didn't talk about is something that Meta kind of led the charge with, is that they figure out if you retrain your models with the same data, you start to kind of get better outputs. I wonder if this is a way for them to retrain their model and kind of keep it, keep the cost down and everything, and you keep the cost down and stuff. So I wonder, are they kind of doing the same thing that Meta announced they're doing, what they did with Llama 3, and I think this is their way kind of quality do the same. And so this is also why they kind of introduced prompt caching, and so I think it's interesting. No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's got a whole idea popped in my head. If with prompt caching, I guess you can kind of get a good positive like feedback that a user got the answer that they wanted if they're the cache is being utilized and they're
Mhm.
continuously hitting it. Yeah, that's a that really helps, I'm sure, with training. You don't have to decipher that as much as you do with any of the other input that's connected to that. So wow, I didn't even think about that, like that off-brand use case for it.
Yeah, yeah. And then also too, I mean, with the real time API, like you said, man, this is something that we've been waiting for. We've been excited about because now this gives superhero level capability to almost anybody. And stuff. If you have the patience to, read through a few documentations, kind of like understand the structure of how to build a proper application. I mean, we live in a world now where I would imagine a 12-year-old can build their own and better version of Siri, and stuff, using this, and then, have it, paid access to, and focus on whatever area and stuff they want to focus on. So me and Sekou was kind of, behind the scenes, we was kind of like playing, it's kind of playing with the cost and, but, how much is stuff these things is cost and everything. And so for example, the real-time API, it says right now the cost on the audio side is $100 per 1 million tokens, and then $200 per 1 million tokens. So we did some math and stuff right here. And so for example, say for example, you have an office, and you're looking to get help with the phone lines, and let's say right now we'll scale up high. Let's say you're receiving like 5,000 calls a month. Average of those calls, we'll say like 10,000. 10 minutes. And so if you do the math and stuff like that, it's that is per month. It's 13,750,000 words per month. And so what does that come with if you are using an AI type of phone agent to replace your phone lines? Well, it comes out to around like $2,800 a month. For your business that can completely be autonomous and have your AI phone agent, AI assistant, whatever you want to call it, and so run your phone lines, for like 5,000 calls, a month, which is just wild. I mean, so $2,800 on the API side can seem expensive, but where you kind of like start to input it to like practical applications, and I hate to use the word jobs, and stuff, it's gonna be really something that's really exciting. And so yeah, man, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I think I think it's a positive step in the direction of like integrating AI or doing AI augmentation for for the workforce, because there are things even in a doctor's office that are laborsome things that you kind of don't want to spend your time doing, and also you want to be sometimes give a more richer input rather than press this button to go here, press this button to do this, right?
Mhm.
So when you think about that, that's a huge that's a that actually, one, it will increase the amount of engagement that you can have
Mhm.
at these different call centers, or like
Mhm.
the call center flow, and kind of make it so that the team that your customers are more prepped once they actually get a real agent in there. So I think it's I'm interested to see where it goes from here and what gets built from it.
I mean, I think with the real time API, man, I can think of so many use cases, and the one I'm probably excited for the most, and the one I'm probably going to spend too much time on, building and stuff myself, is like the AI therapist.
Mm,
This is now a huge step forward of not only that becoming a reality, but it also, being able to, you can spend something up probably tonight, and stuff with it. And so having those type of things, and have it interact with, real base scenarios that can have, life changing experiences, so now being able to store personal deep information, inside a vector database, and being able to retrieve that information while also too you're having your AI therapist help you through grief, help you through loss of job, help you through marriage counseling sessions. And now when you start to integrate something like a RAG application where you can start to include different researches, books, stories, and things like that to kind of like help put a spin to it, like what are you looking for. I mean, this becomes really, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's huge. It's huge. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what we end up building from these things. I always have the work I'm doing on this, trying to create the second brain for myself to like store all my thoughts and make it easy for me to like recall things in the past. Like
Yeah.
this is like because right now the way that the input goes is I talk to it, it records it, it sends it to OpenAI, and I get a response back in text with some interesting things inside of it. But now I have a whole nother step that I can add inside of here, which is having it actually give me real time feedback, rather removing the voice recorder from the situation and making it a interactive call that happens in a private way for me. So I think that's super, super interesting. And with their plans that you have, the teams where you can set it to not store or train off of your data. I think that's huge. So this is definitely, it's something that happens on DevDay, but I feel like this is such a huge thing that like hope more folks have seen what's happening here.
One of the things we didn't talk about, which I'm really curious about, why not do this public? Why this become a private event? Oh yes, please talk to me.
Oh
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Oh yeah, I know why. Because they would have been flooded. This thing is so popular, people would have flown across the United States, Marlon, to to arrive at their door.
Yes.
So unless you were a friend of the board or some type of partner or something like that, and it also makes those folks feel like they're part of an exclusive club.
I don't like it.
Well, in a way, that's how in Silicon Valley, that's how they pick the winners and losers. The people who are over there at that exclusive conference now have a leg up on everyone else there, everyone else outside.
I don't like it. OpenAI, if you're listening, I have been a user, a builder since GPT 2.5. And so
loyal, very loyal.
Yes, very much so. I have taught to this point 50 plus AI workshops. Most of that is also teaching how to implement and integrate AI tools from your ChatGPT to your API side. And I've done with that panel discussions, keynotes, podcasts, all talk about this area. Damn it, I want my invite. I want my invite.
There should be a sponsor. There you go.
Yes, to make it up to us, because we were devastated over here. Yes, become a sponsor, because like literally I got the email. I got an email saying OpenAI DevDay. And I'm like, okay, they just announced it. And no, they just did it. And so yeah, I was hurt. I was hurt.
This is the Silicon Valley way.
Yeah. Speaking of Silicon Valley is also known too for their capital and their loads of money over there. So watch this. OpenAI has just announced and closed the biggest venture capital round in history, raising a massive $6.6 billion. I said this brings their total valuation to a whopping $157 billion. The round was led by Thrive Capital, which put in 1.3, and big names like Microsoft, Nvidia, SoftBank is also interesting too as well. Contributed significant amounts. It said the new funding will allow OpenAI to continue to push their limits on AI technology, like expanding their compute power and hiring top talent, Sekou, to stay ahead of the competition. OpenAI has announced OpenAI has already spent billions training their models, with that GPT-4 model alone costing over $100 million. What's also interesting in that some investors have agreed not to back OpenAI's competitors like Anthropic, Elon Musk's XAI, in exchange for being a part of that record-breaking round. This is huge. Cash infusion, and that would help OpenAI maintain its dominance in the AI space, where competition is heating up from companies like Google, Amazon, and Meta. And a keynote here, it was also rumored that Apple was going to be one of those investors, and Apple decided to pull out at the last minute. So,
Yeah,
6.6 billion.
Yep. There's a lot in there. There's a lot in there. And all enough, that's still not enough. That's still not enough to get them anywhere close to what they need to do. Microsoft is looking at building nuclear power plants. So
Goodness.
and I feel like this is also, like we said, this is a Silicon Valley thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have all these companies that are investing in this technology, but when you look at the folks that are investing in it, they're like paying themselves. Like if Microsoft's putting money into OpenAI so that OpenAI could use more of their services, those services are going to use Nvidia. Nvidia is putting money in. Like it's a circle. It's a circle. So it definitely looks huge, but like, Microsoft just gave themselves a raise somehow in this process, because I'm sure they're making more money off that 1 billion, that the portion of the 1 billion that they put in. Than what they're making more money off that 1 billion than what you're seeing from this year. So like it's a wash. Actually, it's probably just pure profit for them at this point in time. So
yeah, I think this is number one. We've so I used to work in venture capital. I was an engineering director at the largest minority-owned venture capital firm based out of Midwest, and so I got to see how that world works. I got to see how that world moves, and just to kind of the whole process. And this is impactful. I think one of the interesting things too, I didn't know SoftBank was going to get involved. They have the funds, to do so, stuff for sure. And so, and maybe it's like companies maybe it's firms and institutions like SoftBank that can kind of typically afford this as well. And so, but now I think we're about to see. I can guarantee you we're about to see some of the hardware side of these things as well. Not on the compute side, but hardware devices and integrated devices, that also has, OpenAI and different model stuff embedded into it. And so remember too, Johnny Ivy, announced I think last year that he's working on a hardware device and partner, with OpenAI, and we have no clue and stuff what that is. But I imagine, because typically that's one of the most expensive industries to build in on hardware side. I imagine that this will kind of give it some energy and some speed to as well. And also too, I think what was interesting, having the investors agree not to back OpenAI's competitors
yeah,
was very, very interesting.
That's pretty strategic, pretty smart on their behalf to have that in there. You're definitely picking winners and losers through this process. The Apple move is actually probably the most surprising piece that I think I've seen, right? Because with Apple, the fact that they are deciding not to put money into this, be part of this process. They're especially saying they're open to different models. They're open to creating their own, you know,
Yeah.
creating their own thing, and that all the devices that they have out there are not just going to be open for just use for OpenAI's future development. So
Yeah.
I think that's it's a pretty huge statement, I think, on Apple's part. So
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. Um, Adrian and I talked about this last week, where the competition landscape of things, and so it seems like a lot of the big companies are partnering, instead of just kind of like focusing on building their own. And Apple is one of those institutions where not only can they attract the top talent to build, but they would have the infrastructure and the access and everything to build a strong competitor that lives in the Apple universe. I don't see them necessarily building like their own, ChatGPT, or anything like that. But creating a voice model, creating a voice model that will live in the Apple universe, I can definitely see them, building something like that, just because it benefits the brand and stuff so much. And so I definitely agree. I think them deciding not to invest, but also too they still have the Apple Intelligence, which is powered by OpenAI. And so
yeah,
I think this is kind of like the Apple way as well, because typically in the early segment or something, Apple typically partners with companies, and then eventually they go build their own. And so that's typically how they work with things. And so I wasn't necessarily surprised that they partnered with OpenAI, to power the Apple Intelligence, and Siri 2.0, where do you want to call it. But I also think this is an indication that they're going to go back to doing it the Apple way and start to build their own, voice models and stuff, where it may be.
yeah, it's what this reminds me of. So I'll go back to my my history treasure trove here. Uh, of the world there where the cloud providers were just coming online. You had AWS, you had GCP, you had IBM, you had what was it? Samsung had their own cloud at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone
Yep.
was like, you know what? We're gonna build. If I'm a company and I'm building things in the cloud, I'm gonna make it multi-cloud. I want my service to work off of all different clouds that are out there and treat them all the same. And what I think we've all learned through that process is that there's a cost of not doing deep integration.
Mm.
And that cost of not doing deep integration usually outweighs how much what you would lose by not taking on the idea of working on all platforms. So I think I don't know. It is kind of a gambit I think that Apple is playing, but the thing is, I think for Apple, it's hard to look at any company as an equal partner when you're Apple, right? It's really hard to do that, to say that we're gonna give us equal leverage here. Like, I don't think it knows how to operate in that way, personally, right? It's really its own thing, and everything else is kind of bolted onto it. But equal partners in some way, nah, they won't do that. Right now, Nvidia and OpenAI are pretty much equal partners in some regards, because the amount of like buzz that OpenAI creates makes people more enthusiastic about using their product, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
And I'm going to match you on the history part. In the Apple II days, Apple was building, they were really great at the hardware, and they became really bad on the software side as things start to go. And so this is also why they acquired Next, which was Steve Jobs' startup. after he departed from Apple. So they acquired Next, and so they started getting get better at the software side. Kind of same thing too with even the iPhone. A lot of the hardware at one point was built by other companies, and built, typically outside of the US into as well. And they were running the software side, and eventually they brought that in-house as well. A lot of the accessories and stuff for Apple was kind of built externally, and then eventually kind of brought it internally too as well. Remember at one point too, the web browser, remember how the web browser required Flash to watch?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
remember the Flash days.
Yeah, and so web browser required Flash, and I remember it was Steve Jobs was pissed and stuff for it, and so he was just like I remember watching and kind of like going through the process that they integrated Flash for like 6 to 8 months, and then they built their own version and stuff of it. And so they ended like probably like a year after that. It's like the web browser didn't need Flash and stuff, and stuff anymore. And so like Apple just kind of like have this continuous process of they partner and stuff, when they feel like it's necessary, but their long-term roadmap is to eventually build their own and bring it back in-house. And so I don't see it being any different and stuff, from here on out, as well. But at this point right now, as of today, it's extremely difficult to compete with what OpenAI has done and built. And so there may be more, maybe more benefit and stuff over there to partner, even for the long term. But again, it's Apple. I mean, they can figure it out.
Yeah. Oh man, just made me think about removing Flash. I remember when Flash came out, there was like this period of time Flash was end of life. It took like 10 years to remove Flash off of systems. it was such a sticky piece of technology. It was just ingrained into most of the web. It was so crazy.
Yeah, that's a throwback and stuff for sure. Just like it's literally you would be scrolling down, a browser, and then you have like this big square, like this gray square with a red icon, which is like the Flash logo. And it's like you had to click that, then it loaded, whatever like multimedia that you were trying to view, watch, see. And so Apple was like, yeah, enough of that. We're not doing that anymore. Actually, hold on. When did Apple create Safari?
When did they create Safari?
Oh my God. I think it was around that time for that reason.
Huh. Maybe.
I'm gonna do some more research on that, and we'll talk about it next week. But I'm almost sure one of the reasons why they created Safari because Steve Jobs hated the Flash experience so much. I'm almost sure and everything. So just real context and everything. So I have a friend who worked at Apple, and he worked at Apple while Steve Jobs and stuff was there, and he was in California. And so like he has all these stories of just like his mind and just how it worked. And so Steve, what they would do like their demo day and everything of the products. And so Steve hated that the exit sign in the back of the auditorium, when they turn off all the lights, will still remain lit. And he was like, no, I want a full blackout experience. And they said, well, we can't by law turn it off, or we can get in trouble. He said, okay, what's the definition of trouble? He said, we'll get fined, and stuff. And so the fire chief heard about it and came in and started fining Steve Jobs, and started fining Apple for turning off the exit sign, turning off the exit sign because he wanted the full blackout. Steve started sending the fines ahead of time. He started sending the fines ahead. And he just didn't care. And so they were trying to make it a big thing and like trying to figure out a way how to, stop him from doing it. And he was like, yeah, this is not going to happen. We want a full blackout. And so just off that one thing, kind of like how his mind works as a menace, I'm almost confident one of the reasons why they built Safari, because of the Flash experience, and he hated it so much, and at the time you needed it, And I'm almost confident they built Flash. I'm gonna say they built Safari because of that reason. I'm gonna do some more research. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. You have to get to the bottom of this one.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So here, moving forward and stuff here, we got something that's a little concerning and stuff here. Two Harvard students have shown just how easy it is to use facial recognition technology with smart glasses to identify strangers in real time. They built a demo using the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses that can take people's face by recognizing them and pulling up their names, addresses, phone numbers from public databases. It said this whole process can happen instantly using technology and is already widely available. They said the students they said the students say they didn't build this for misuse, but to raise awareness about how easily this tech can be invade privacy. This project demonstrates that the future where we could recognize by strangers on the street is already here.
Yeah. So yeah, these Meta Ray-Bans, when they first came out, I was like, oh, these are kind of cool. I can use a little voice assistant. There's a weird camera on it. I don't think I ever used that, but I like the idea of listening to music and a voice assistant on there. And I feel like we got to exactly where I expected us to get. The fact that you put cameras where folks' eyes are.
Yeah.
They're gonna be folks doing creepy things with the glasses. And there's no, like, I'm sure you remember the Google Glass, because we always refer back to this thing.
I was going to bring that up.
What do they call them? The glass holes.
Yeah.
Which, I think it's the second coming. So I think you're going to see more places where they're going to say, hey, you can't bring those in the movies. You can't bring these into public spaces. You can't, like, I feel like hopefully Meta kind of gets in front of this, and before, like, they have to sit in front of Congress, in front of this huge invasion of privacy they created. Again.
Yeah.
But, like, and then of course, not long after this article broke, within like 2 hours, you learn that Meta confirmed that it trains its AI based off of any image you ask Meta Ray-Ban to analyze.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're analyzing, you're taking a picture of something, your daughter,
mm-hmm.
And you know what they do? Once they analyze it, they said that they are going to use it in ads. They're going to put your face or your daughter in an ad to get back to you. This is 100% creepo, like, tech. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, you're making everyone look bad.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think it seems like that's the students true intentions is to, like, bring awareness and stuff to this. When I read this, my mind started going, and I was like, oh yeah, I know how to build that. I was like, I know how to build that. Yeah. And stuff. And so, that's definitely, and it's funny, I didn't necessarily think about that use case. I mean, but going to what you just said, Sekou, I mean, this is also one of the reasons where it was like the big pullback from the Google Glass, is like they were concerned, with privacy. And so, I think two things here is, I believe we live in a world that only cares about privacy when it affects them directly. As much as, people kind of scream at the top of their lungs or things, that, I just don't think that, typically people care about privacy instead of much. I mean, we still live in a country where ABC123 is the most used password. And so that's not, caring about privacy or trying to protect yourself. You're just looking for ease of use, and people have built companies and industries off of ease of use. And so I think it just kind of comes back to, I think it's a good job for awareness. Typically, who we are as a country, we always build a car before we build a seatbelt. and so I can see Meta. I will hope Meta get in front of this. I mean, they've had enough, you know, bad publicity, you know, and so of just things they're done, and you know, things they've manipulated, and you know, in all different, you know, sectors of you know, of just like their work. And so, you know, but this is definitely that. I mean, that's when I saw it and I read it, and I knew for sure that I can build it myself, then I know tons of other people can figure it out. And so, you know, this definitely, you know, can be a problem. But I definitely agree. I think we probably will start to see, and unfortunately it I think it's like, I think it won't become widely an issue until something unfortunate happens that connects back to the foundation of somebody finding somebody, something doing something, you know, it's like that. And so, you know, number one, I you know, take my hat off and everything to the two students, you know, over at Harvard, you know, to kind of bring awareness to this, and so, you know, just like any other advanced and new technology, people are going to use it for good, people are going to use it for bad. And you know, typically the technology itself, it doesn't necessarily is the, you know, the evil part of it. It's always human intention. And so people can take this and, you know, do, you know, unfortunate things, you know, stuff with it, with their human intention. And so yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's something that we're here. We definitely got to kind of like be mindful and stuff of. I mean, the question is like, you know, what happens now?
Yeah. It's so interesting because it is very similar to the technology of the Google Glass. The only difference is that Google Glass did not look cool. That's the difference between these two things. So Facebook successfully made something look good.
It didn't look seamless.
Didn't look seamless. It
Yeah.
definitely looked like you had a little robot thing on your head, right?
Yeah, it was obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I also think that's one of the issues too. Like, I think the Google Glass, it was obvious, and then am I making this up? Did it have like an indicator that it was recording on it too as well?
It had something like that. It had some type of indicator, like it would light up, something like that for you. But actually, did it have a camera? Is it? Yeah, it did have a camera on it. Yeah. So I don't know. Facebook is a company that really got everyone to shed their privacy.
Yeah.
And allow them to commoditize that. I'm not surprised that they are making a very successful push at making us lose more of our privacy and giving it to them for free. But like, actually, this time it's not for free because we're buying glasses for them to take our privacy. That's a little different than, you know, getting a free service and paying for things in ads. So.
Yeah, it's very similar to what some people do, even with ChatGPT. You know, I found it shocking that I've had to communicate to people to put in your social, phone number, birthday, you know, into these models. And so again, going back, that, you know, I just don't believe that the vast majority cares about privacy. It only cares about privacy when it happens to them, and stuff. And so it's and like I said, we're doing the same thing stuff with ChatGPT. And so you know, and we're paying to, you know, give away you know, our data to some degree. And even with this, you know, I've been an advocate of, you know, use the tool, but also to understand when it's time to, you know, actually do things yourself, when you're, you know, potentially kind of like tapping into like your own genius, because it's going to learn and it's going to get better, you know. And with that, and there's benefits and there's pros and cons and stuff, you know, with that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was excited to see a GPT store, because then you can kind of allocate your brilliance into a particular you know, framework that you can monetize stuff from. And as of today, you know, there is no monetization strategy, you know, from GPTs that live in GPT store. There's ways to monetize with it, you know, but, and so yeah, it's I think it's interesting to you know, see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. So also too, you know, man, Sekou, you know, you and I, you know, we've definitely spent our fair share, within the workforce. In the first time, you longer than me, you have a bunch of more knowledge and stuff in the workforce and wisdom stuff than I do. But the future of AI, the workforce is definitely going to be interesting and stuff here. Harvard did a paper, and did an article and stuff here. Saying to go around the saying going around, AI won't replace managers, but managers who use AI will replace those who don't. While that might be true, we're not quite there yet. A recent survey found that only 15% of leaders are consistently using AI in their daily work. However, the next generation of managers is already embracing generative AI. Many MBA students are using AI tools every day, not just in simple tasks like writing or summarizing, but also brainstorming and problem solving. As these students enter the workforce, businesses will need to adapt to keep up with the tech savvy ways. Companies that want to attract and keep these talents will need to demonstrate their commitment to AI, whether that's giving new hires access to the latest tools or providing hands-on projects where they can experiment with AI. Sekou, man, thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is interesting. Um, I definitely see. I definitely see maybe the first generation of AI that we're talking about, maybe pre-AGI world. Maybe we say it that way. Pre-AGI world, I can imagine that having AI skills, being able to augment your work and produce things in the speed of someone who's using AI is going to be beneficial to have. And I think as the AIs get better and better, like I don't see it not just being a requirement, but like I imagine there'll be portions that we'll get to the point where we start really like outsourcing. We're going to outsource a function of management to AI, right? Whether it's reviewing the actual like going through processing reviews for individuals, looking at success metrics for projects. I definitely see a place in like how those things kind of intertwine. Today, I don't think I've seen many postings that have like said requires AI skills or requires experience with Copilot. I think that is what I'm kind of looking for. That's my indicator that this is really real. Right now, it feels like, I can't. I feel like we have to see more of it to see if we've gotten to that first step yet. More indicators, but it's changing so much. If you teach someone how to use Gen AI in their workflow outside of just Chat GPT, like next year is going to look completely different than this year. Last year looks different than where we are right now.
Right.
Like it's moving too fast. I just like expect to like actually integrate it into like a master of businesses coursework, right? Maybe the just general AI concepts, but like how to effectively use it. I don't know one organization that like has like a true effective dev experience out there for using AI. They're building it. It's getting better, but like no one is like 100% relying on that. So it's hard to like, how do you teach something that doesn't exist yet? It has to exist first, then it teaches. This actually reminds me of when I started doing systems administration. Like system administration was just something you just kind of just learn by just being there and absorbing like what was going on at different businesses and operating systems. It didn't start until like years and years after where they could actually like distill what it was to something that could actually fit into coursework. So I think there's going to be a lag. We need to go further before we can teach behind us. So it's not expectation for that to happen super soon, but it's going to come. It's going to happen. But I did question a little bit of the merits of this particular article.
Yeah, I think the future of AI workforce is all based on the speed of education. you have to teach, and you have to communicate to leadership, first, thing to also for them to see what the ROI and stuff is going to be. And then once they can accept the ROI and understand what it's going to be, then they make the investment, and then the implications of teaching, via workshops, webinars, conferences, whatever it may be. I think that process, starts. But with that process at scale takes a massive amount of time, because also too, you're going to have, organizations, institutions that prefer to use, Microsoft Copilot over, ChatGPT, or OpenAI's tool. And then another institution is going to want to use Anthropic, over, something else. And so then you're going to have institutions that can build their own and stuff versions and stuff of it. But also too, they need somebody to still come in and teach, too as well. And so, we're talking about, there's definitely going to take some time and be a process. And when it comes to the workforce side of things, I definitely think, companies like OpenAI and Microsoft are, kind of like, leading the way. I think Microsoft Copilot, I think they're headed in the right direction. My concern with how they're building and moving with things is their speed of their products that they're building and integration stuff they're building. And so, like we just got an email. What was it, Sekou? We just got an email that Microsoft Copilot now can see your screen and, respond back in real time. And so, which sounds awesome, but what is it? What do you do with that? What that reminds me of? It's like, that reminds me of Android building all these features that nobody uses in 3 months. They're building all these different things, or your phone can do this and they can do this and it can zoom all the way into the moon. Like what's the practical use, like the everyday stuff for use of that? Like, that's just, you're not using those type of features, and you're spending, an ungodly amount of time on research and, product development and all different things like that. And so it's just like, I understand. It's good. I understand why you did the bill, and I understand the speed at which you're going, but also too, you're skipping over the main part of this whole universe need, which is education. And you're going to have to educate the masses. I will be extremely interested to see. I mean, this right here just said that, only 15% of leaders are consistently using AI in their daily work. And so, what does the entire workforce looks like? I mean, or do you think we're at a 30%, 40%, integration, inside, daily work and stuff like that? I don't think so, and stuff as of right now. And so, because everything's, still spread it out. And so, being able to, just create, a PowerPoint, using, AI, there's 75 different ways to do that. And so, right now, and then when you start to integrate things like images using Canva, I mean, I haven't had, me personally, I haven't had a good experience with the image generation tools and stuff that Canva are promoting, and say, they're saying that you can do seamlessly. And so, it's building, it's still figuring out. Hallucination is still very much, at play, with all these tools and processes and things like that. And so I think we eventually will live in a, an AI focused workforce. I think the spend and the money behind education has to be the main vehicle that takes us there. And as of right now, I just don't see, that happening. I just see right now everybody is figuring out on their own, learning on their own, which is fine, and stuff like that. And so, which is fine. But, when it comes back to that being a reflection of the ROI, your ROI that can, cost you dollars, speed, output, efficiency. I don't see organizations and institutions kind of like, spending the time or stuff right now.
Yeah, I think actually was probably the reality. Oh yeah, I think we have a comment here. Yeah, AGI between 2027 to 2029. Yeah, that's definitely what they say. But I think this interim state that we're in, that we're gonna be, I feel like we're gonna be there for a little bit. Even once we get to AGI, there's still this little bit of a lagging time. Their businesses adopt technology at such different rates. You know,
Yeah.
if you're in the tech business, like we're pretty fast. Enterprises are okay. You know, they're not lightning speed. Then you get to, your companies that use tech to support their business, but they're not tech first. They're actually slower, right? Then you get the healthcare, which is like when you're dealing with lives and technology, really, really slow. And then government. Government is the slowest moving thing out there. Nothing is
That's
slower
like
than government.
that's like 15% of the workforce.
Right?
Like right there.
So there's still a good amount of this interim time that we'll be talking about here. But I think what's happening is there's still right now, this is the golden era of early adopters. The early adopters that are on in this journey right now are going to be the folks that are just silently winning. They're not vocal about how fast they are being made by using these different tools, and just looking like they're just suddenly became an amazing engineer behind the scene. I think that's where we're at right now. We're going to be there for a little bit, because it don't want, it takes time for some of these things to like be digested by industry. But education actually, I don't know if you think education would be like the forefront of all these different things. They are actually right between the government and medical, oddly enough, as far as speed to adopt things. So unless you're going to a top tier school, maybe MIT or something like that, you have a better chance. But the rest of the places, no, they're just, yeah.
I spoke at the National Black MBA Association conference last week before last, and it was interesting to like kind of scan the room on like most of the people, like these are individuals in the workforce, and there's not like entrepreneurs and stuff in the audience. These are people who are stuff in the workforce and everything from different sectors, from tech to government. And so it's very interesting to like engage and see in basically how they're thinking and integrating and stuff and using AI. And it's the main thing I got from it is they still don't know. Like they're doing things and they're like they're figuring it out and they're working on it. It's like they're using your tools like ChatGPT, but you very much can tell everybody's still figuring out on the workforce aspect, and it goes back to the lack of education. From I wouldn't necessarily point a finger, but it's like the lack of education, on a broad and stuff of it. And so, until you can have, and also too, education, going back to what you said, Sekou, education is going to have to advance in this area because you're going to have level 1 education where you can just come in and you're teaching how to prompt, how to use, how to email, and then you may partner with the engineering department to build RAG applications that what you do with like looking for documentations, email and sales reports and things like that. But then for proper efficiency, you're gonna have to have education per department, and you're gonna go get a little bit deeper, and stuff there. So the conversation what you're gonna have with your legal team is gonna be extremely different what you're gonna have with your sales team. And how do you maximize and build efficiency there? Like the tool, the technology itself, it's capable of doing so. But how do you do that? Do you just do you just wait for you get a champion internally to kind of come in and just kind of teach the entire team and show everybody how to do it? I mean, you're gonna wait for a long time, so do so, or do you go do some type of hiring, partnering, consultation, and hiring somebody like Marlon Avery to come in and teach your organization how to do these things. Yeah. Shameless plug. And so it's gonna be interesting. And so I've done a lot of these like these workshops and organizations, and I'm happy you said that too as well. Now I think about it, I haven't done not one. So like in the last 16 months, I've done 66 engagements around Gen AI, from everything from workshops to conferences, to panel discussions. And so now I think about it, I haven't had a focused organization that wanted me to teach a particular team. It's always been from like a bird's eye view, and then typically from there, the education doesn't move forward. The application side of things sometimes move forward, and how they want to build and integrate, stuff there. But the education aspect doesn't go. It doesn't become focus. It's still kind of why. And when I say focus, I mean focus on a particular team, like your sales team, and or your marketing team and stuff like that. So it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. I think I'm very excited to see what the integration story is going to end up looking like for some of this stuff. The education side, I'm hoping maybe this time it won't be the same, but just going from history and what we've seen, these are the trends that that usually happen.
We always build a car before we build a seatbelt.
Yep, exactly.
And so yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. So for sure. Sekou, man, let's go. Let's give us a accent, or give us something that is going to close us out here. We're going to ask the advanced voice to do a podcast closeout. Sekou, man, give us something. What should we do here?
You know what?
Last week we did the closeout. We did a Jamaican patois accent. So yeah, which one do this week?
How about we mix how about we mix a little bit of a Scottish accent with a light stutter? How about that? let's do it.
That is awesome. Okay, yeah. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna gear up the I'm in my ChatGPT application. I'm gonna gear up advanced voice. What's interesting too as well? We kind of talked about this earlier. Has there been any conversation on how advanced voice works better per model?
You know what? So I've tried it with 01 preview, and I don't think it is working the same way than what I expect. Like, it definitely, if I type it in, it is going through its tree of knowledge process of thinking about each component of what I've asked for and then give me answer.
The reasoning, yeah.
But it answers me back way too fast when I'm using the voice. So I'm like, it's clearly doing something different here. So
okay, so we're gonna stick with GPT-4 Omni. All right, so here we go. You said Scottish accent with a stutter, correct?
With a stutter, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go. Hey, how you doing? Can you create a podcast outro? Today, the podcast is AI with Friends. This is episode 4. And today we talked about OpenAI's DevDay with the new real-time API. We also talked about OpenAI's record-breaking fundraising that they raise. We talked about AI and facial recognition. Is it a scary reality? And then we also talked about the future of AI in the workforce. The host of the podcast is Marlon, Sekou, and Adrian. And I want you to give the outro in a Scottish accent with a slight stutter.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of AI with Friends. We've had a fantastic chat about the groundbreaking OpenAI DevDay fundraiser, AI's role in facial recognition, and the future of AI in the workforce. Your hosts Marlon, Sekou, and Adrian are grateful for your time. Stay tuned for more enlightening conversations, and don't forget to subscribe. Cheers.
Awesome. Okay, so I want you to redo the outro, but increase your stuttering as you're talking.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of AI with friends. We've had a fantastic chat about the groundbreaking OpenAI's DevDay fundraiser, AI's role in facial recognition, and the future of AI in the workforce. Your hosts, Marlon, Sekou, and Adrian, are grateful for your time. Stay tuned for more enlightening conversations, and don't forget to subscribe. Cheers.
Awesome. All right. Lastly, give me a tie in between a British accent and a Jamaican patois accent with no stutter for the outro. It's gonna be interesting.
Thanks for tuning in to AI with Friends. We had a brilliant discussion about OpenAI's record-breaking DevDay fundraiser, AI's role in facial recognition, and the future of AI in the workforce. Your hosts, Marlon, Sekou, and Adrian, appreciate your time. Stay tuned for more insightful conversations. And don't forget, subscribe. Bless up.
Bless up.
Bless up. Bless up. I love it. I love it.
Oh man, that's my thing. We're gonna start getting some suggestions here from the audience and letting us tell them. So that's awesome. All right. Well, definitely, man. As always, man, this has been a great one, man. You can follow me. You can find me on all platforms at IamMarlonAvery.com. And so feel free, man, to engage, shoot me a message and give me any questions. So where it may be. Sekou, man, where can people find you?
Hey, you can find me on Twitch and you can find me on TikTok at Sekou the Wise One.
Yeah. And it's the number wise or it's spelled out one. It's up there. It's the number. Wow,
It's the number one. The number
it's the number one. Okay.
The number one.
And also too, if you listen to this on a podcast, you can also too find it in the show notes too as well. And so, man, definitely, man, guys, appreciate you. You definitely subscribe, comment, like, and stuff here, and let us know what you think. Until next time, man, we are out.
All right. Peace.